everybody, I'm D-Labs, and I'm here to bring you Horror October. Everything in this month will be horror related or scary as shit. So here we go for Horror October. Hello, and welcome to Tamazi Entertainment, or Tamazi Retro Entertainment now. If you're here, you want to see a lot of cool reviews of movies, and that's exactly what this video is. It's close to 2 hours of my old reviews, documentary reviews, so you get a lot of back info before you get the review part. I switched some things around, so you get to the review part maybe a little later than sooner. But yeah, thank you very much for watching my content and being a part of my life. And yeah, thank you very much. There's more coming, this year and next year, so I hope you guys are ready. Thank you. Hello everybody, it's D-Labs, and welcome to my channel, and I'm here to review Aliens 3, and I'm also going to do a little bit of a backstory as well. Also, Redneck Gamer is also doing a second opinion, so don't forget to check that out at the end of the video. Well, I guess it all started back in 1986 when James Cameron directed the smash hit Aliens. It grossed $131 million. It was #1 at the North American box office for 4 consecutive weeks. Aliens was the 7th highest grossing film of 1986 in North America. Also, Aliens was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, winning on both sound effects editing and visual effects. After the success of Aliens, 20th Century Fox wanted to move forward with Aliens 3. So they approached producer David Giller and Walter Hill to start working on a script. They came up with a 2-part treatment involving the Whaling Corporation making biological weapons from the aliens, where Michael Biehn's character, Hicks, he's the main protagonist. Ripley's in a coma. She doesn't wake up until the 4th film, and that's where it has the big final epic battle that's supposed to end the franchise. In 1987, Giller and Hill approached cyberpunk author William Gibson to write the script for the 3rd film. Gibson drew heavily from Giller and Hill's treatment. His script was very action-oriented and featured an extended cast. But the producers were unsatisfied with the screenplay, which Giller described as perfectly executed script that wasn't all that interesting. The producers liked certain elements of Gibson's script, but ultimately, Gibson would leave the project, so producers Hill and Giller hired writer David Twohy. His version of the script was radically different than Gibson. He also changed the setting from Earth to a prison planet where they do experiments on the prisoners. But when David's script was delivered to Fox president Joe Roth, he did not like the idea of Ripley being removed, declaring that Sigourney Weaver is the centerpiece of the series and Ripley was really the only female warrior in our movie mythology.
Sigourney Weaver is an actress who has carved out a place for herself in a number of different types of movies. Comedy with Ghostbusters and Working Mist, but she's probably best known as the action-adventure hero in the Alien movies.
In the early 90s, director Vincent Ward was hired to direct Aliens 3. But he wanted to rewrite David Twohy's script. Ward's version of the script involved a wooden planet ruled by monks. When the monks looked up into the sky, they saw the Star of the East, but it was actually Ripley's escape pod. When it crashes into the planet, the monks end up rescuing her. But they are very religious, believing that Ripley's crash is actually a good omen. But with the increased suggestion of the alien presence, the monks start to believe that it's some type of religious trial caused by sexual temptation, and they believe the alien is the devil. Based on this version of the script, Fox greenlit the project and started production. With the sets being built and the script being fine-tuned, eventually Fox asked a meeting with the director, imposing a list of changes to be made. Refusing to do so, Ward was fired. Producers Hill and Giller, not 100% satisfied with the script, decided to rewrite it themselves, taking all the good elements from all the previous scripts that were written. Now all they needed was to find a new director.
Then they brought Fincher on as a new director.
David Fincher he was incredibly impressive.
Comes from music videos as well as some magnificent commercials.
And Sigourney Weaver was very happy that the talented director was hired.
I finally said toward the end of the meeting, so how do you picture Ripley in this movie? And he said, I don't know. Bald? And that was the moment where I fell in love with him.
Because they were so far in the production of Aliens 3, David Fincher found it very difficult to direct the film.
We had built the sets for the Vincent Ward script.
With the script.
I think the biggest problem David had was that we never had a concrete draft of the script to go by.
Not only was 20th Century Fox losing faith in the young director, they also had a few of their own problems to deal with.
And she said she saw my character, Hicks, made up of like a dummy character there. And I said, Ed, what the fuck, man? I mean, it's one thing not to be in it. It's another thing for me to have had fucking that alien come back in me and have it come out of my... I don't care how much money you have, that alien is not coming out of my chest, okay? And wanted to use my photograph. I said, now you can pay me.
But director David Fincher didn't find the situation so amusing. Being over budget, having a hectic work schedule, and 20th Century Fox sending notes and suggestions to change the movie, he was very verbal about his frustration on the set.
It's amazing to me that Fox is the #1 studio in the country because they're all such a bunch of morons.
But also, the cast and crew were well aware of the troubled production.
Saturday, we'll probably be coming back, and then yesterday I heard they're going to finish with this movie. That's the game. I want to see how they're going to do it.
Because the production was so crazy, the cast and crew came up with a funny nickname for the set.
Everyone's waiting for me, and I see Sigourney, and she looks at me and she goes, "Welcome to the Rat's Nest." And I said, "Oh."
Eventually, 20th Century Fox requested David Fincher to take all the footage he filmed and edit the film together so the executives could see it. The executives at Fox were given a 3-hour cut version of Aliens 3, and they weren't impressed by what they saw.
We had to stop. We didn't wrap the film. We stopped shooting.
Fox ended up recutting and re-editing the film for theatrical release, and by doing this, left some pretty interesting plot holes.
He's meant to release this monster, team up with the thing, and go and kill Ripley. Fantastic. I've had friends say, in fact, we saw you in one scene and then you kind of disappear. You know, nobody knows quite where you... It's a bit of a mistake.
Even with all the rumored production problems that were going around, the movie was still successful in theaters. David Fincher, on the other hand, disowned the film and wants nothing to do with it. Okay everybody, well that's my documentary before the review. Hope you all liked it. I won't be doing this for all movies, just certain movies that I feel deserve special attention. Now let's start the reviews. I've probably seen Alien 3 like 1,000 times, and I would have to say right off the bat they fuck it up. By killing off Newt, Hicks, and Bishop, it's basically the biggest slap in the face you can do to the fans of the first sequel who grew to love those characters. And I'm not saying that Newt, Hicks, and Bishop had to be in the entire third film. They could have been killed off during the movie and it would have been more gut-wrenching to see because you have more of emotional attachment to them. And because basically these characters are thrown away right at the beginning, you already kind of have a bummer feeling about the movie when it starts. You kind of feel like how Ripley feels in the movie. Depressed, tired, confused. And that's not a good thing to feel once the movie first starts. That's something that should happen in the middle or at the end of the movie. Another small problem I have with this movie is that it takes itself way too seriously. There isn't a comedy relief or a funny moment throughout the whole thing. James Cameron's Aliens has better pacing because it adds these comedy moments, which is a really good idea because it breaks up those boring moments in the film. And it kind of wakes you up a little bit so you pay a bit more attention. But in Alien 3, everybody's so serious, it's like a soap opera. Now keep in mind, I watched the assembly cut of this movie, which is like a half an hour longer, so that's maybe why it felt like it kind of dragged on a bit. And in this version, there's a scene where they actually trap the alien for like 20 minutes, and I feel like that's really a bad idea, because by doing that, you kind of take away all its power. You almost have no more fear for it. and how the alien escapes from that situation is kind of ridiculous and really stupid. Now, what I did like about this movie was the acting. All the actors do a good job, but if you notice that at least 5 or 6 of the characters are exactly the same. Like, a majority of the convicts have this kind of I don't give a fuck attitude and fuck everybody and I'm gonna rape everything. And you'll know exactly what characters I'm talking about because they're the first ones to die. I think that Sigourney Weaver is so fucking good in this movie. She displays a range of emotions from I'm really sad to my life fucking blows. And it's very impressive. I always liked her acting. I don't like that little love story that's in the movie. I feel like it's too slow. But still, what can you do? The sound stages or the environments in this are really crazy. They look nice and they're huge. And the practical effects in this are nice and gory and realistic and raw, and I like that. Especially in the assembly cut where they fixed the CGI alien. Overall, I wish they made this more like James Cameron's Aliens. Because throughout the whole movie, you don't really like any of the characters because they're not very likable. And the ending CGI looks a little but also Ripley's sacrifice doesn't feel nearly as impactful because she's going to die anyway. So overall, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It's not the best Aliens. There are better, but this is definitely good to watch. It's good for the lore of the alien. Also, as I said earlier, my good buddy Redneck's here. Hey Redneck, can you please take it away?
Howdy folks, Redneck Gamer here, and I've been asked by D-Labs to give my opinions on Alien 3. So, here it is. I'm gonna probably get some weird looks from y'all viewers out there, but I have to say this. I like Alien 3. I know, I have weird tastes. Let me at least explain why I like this film. I find that a lot of people are quick to hate this movie because it was not like the second movie, that and a few other things. And mind you, Alien 2 was a very good exception to the rule of sequels to movies not being as good as their predecessors. A few other good exceptions were Terminator 2 and Beethoven 2, both better than the first films in their respected franchises. In other words, Alien 2 was the best in the series, and before you ask, yes, Alien 2 is my favorite in the Alien franchise. But in saying that, it should be known that Alien 2 was going to be a hard act for the next Alien film to follow. But does that make Alien 3 bad? In my opinion, no. Granted, it has its fair share of problems, such as the killing off of the characters Hicks and Newt. Like, really? But I am one of the very few that was able to overlook some of these flaws and take the film for what it was worth. A lot of folks dislike Alien 3 because it takes a different direction than Alien 2 did. Alien 2 was a non-stop sci-fi action thriller, whilst Alien 3 decided to go back to the more horror-inspired suspense sci-fi thriller that was seen in Alien 1. In other words, Alien 3 went back to its roots. And I think that was a good idea on the writers, directors, and producers' end to put that back in the series. Alien 3 also borrowed some elements from the cyberpunk subgenre of sci-fi. The gloomy feel of the movie, the setting of the prison, plus the religious society that was built in said prison. It was a darker toned movie. Hell, even the ending was pretty dark. I happen to be a huge fan of the cyberpunk subgenre, so this film just speaks to me. The film does have its fair share of issues, though, and I wouldn't be a good critic if I didn't address them. For instance, there's the absence of Newt and Hicks, and yeah, even I, a person who likes this movie, has to admit that's a problem. Newt and Hicks were well-written characters. Hicks played the main male hero as well as the potential love interest for Ripley, whilst Newt played the adopted daughter role for Ripley. Having these two characters gone hurts the film a bit. A lot of people liked these characters, myself included. They were kinda like Ripley's new family. Either the creators of Alien 3 didn't like Newt and Hicks, or they were very adamant on going in a new direction with the film in general. I tend to think it was more of the latter, obviously. Bishop shows up, but only for a couple minutes, and he was another character that me and a lot of other people liked. It should be known this movie is a full-on Ripley experience, and that's because this was supposed to be her last rodeo, her true final battle, if you will. And you can tell just by looking at her, she's bruised, she's battered, and she's exhausted. But the Xenomorphs, or Xenomorph in this movie's case, is still wreaking havoc, and it must be stopped. Speaking of the Xenomorph, this one is a little different than the one that was seen in the previous films. They call this particular Xenomorph a runner. Why is it called a runner? Well, because this Xenomorph was spawned not from a human this time, but rather a dog. This has made the Xenomorph in Alien 3 quadrupedal and thus faster. Thus the name. Anyway, in conclusion, I would have to give this film a G for good. I think it's passable as a sequel could go. But yeah. And hey, it could have been worse. It could have been this film. Ugh.
Thank you very much, Redneck, for your help. And if you enjoy Redneck's review, you can check out in the description, you'll find a link to his channel. This review and documentary style video is actually my second one. My first one is Batman, but I'm waiting on another YouTuber named Lee Christian to do the music and a second review on Batman. Hello everybody, it's D-Laps. I'm here to bring you a review and some crazy information about this movie. In 1995, 14-year-old Sandy Charles told police that he's been contemplating suicide, but a spirit told him to kill someone else. On July 8th, Charles and an unnamed 8-year-old accomplice, only known as M, lured a 7-year-old Jonathan Thimpson into a secluded area behind Charles's home and attempted to break the boy's neck. When that failed, they tried to kill Thimpson by stabbing him 4 times in the head and neck with a paring knife. But when the blade became lodged in the boy's eye, they beat him with a beer bottle and a rock, and ultimately suffocated him. They cut 10 to 15 strips of flesh from Thimpson's body, boiled it over a stove, and allegedly drank it. Thimpson's body was discovered 3 days later. In court, lawyers on Charlie's behalf argued that he became obsessed with the film Warlock, and that the murder was based in part on a promise from the movie that drinking boiled fat from a virgin can give one the ability to fly, though Charlie claimed he did not want to drink the boiled fat from the victim, because as his words were, "I just wanted to stay the same way I was." Regardless, the case brought up the issue of violence in movies in the forefront of Charlie's native Canada, and is reported to have influenced the decision to enable parents to use V-chips to censor violence in cable television. Because of their ages, Charlie was put on trial as an adult. His accomplice, identified only by the letter M, was not charged. Charlie was found not guilty by the reason of insanity. Following his trial, he went on to reside at the High Security Regional Psychiatric Center in Saskatoon, and was briefly relocated to Saskatchewan Hospital in June of 2013, but he was transferred back to the Regional Psychiatrist Center in Saskatoon. Wow, man, that's crazy. I can't believe that happened. That poor little kid. It makes me kind of sick to think about it. So let's get to the review. Warlock is like a science fiction horror thriller. And the reason I say science fiction is because it has a time travel element. The movie starts in 1691. Redford has already caught the Warlock and he's going to be hung the next morning.
Would not Satan have saved you, were he thus inclined?
Perhaps he'll save us both, Redford.
As soon as Redford leaves the room, a dark stormy cloud goes over the building and the devil warps the Warlock to the present time, which is 1989. Now later on in the film, the Warlock finds out the reason that he was brought to this time is to find all the pieces to the devil's Bible. There are 3 pieces to the Bible he must collect all together. If the Warlock has all 3, he can basically destroy everything God created. Then you have a 3rd female character, which is named Cassandra, and she's forced into the situation where she has to help Redford stop the Warlock.
Are you saying that tomorrow I'm gonna wake up 60?
I say this. Unless you find the Warlock and thereby your bracelet, you shall die in but half a week.
Die?
Of old age.
And I can say this about all the characters in the movie, that they're interesting and they're cool. Especially Redford and the Warlock. Because this movie kind of has a Terminator feel. Because they go through time and Redford's trying to stop the Warlock from destroying mankind. And just like Terminator, some of the best parts of the movie is when the Warlock and Redford have their little fights throughout the film.
When one life too many, you did steal.
I wish these interactions were more often in the film because they're the most exciting parts of the movie. Also, I want to mention the practical and special effects. They're surprisingly better than you would expect. Even though this is a low budget movie, it feels like it has high production value. Another thing that's really well done is the music. It has a creepy melody that stays with you long after the movie ends. Like, you think about this melody for a while. Besides being a horror, thriller, sci-fi, it's also a comedy. Now, I'm not saying you're going to laugh your ass off because there's only like 3 or 4 jokes. But the fact that there are jokes in a horror movie basically about the Antichrist is pretty impressive. So basically what I'm saying is this movie is awesome and you got to watch it because it's good and it's great. It's a really good movie. I believe you guys would enjoy it if you check it out. Now that I think about it, the only real negative thing I have about this movie is that I wish it was longer and more fight scenes. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. This movie is epic and you gotta watch it. But there is a very dark side to this movie that happened about 6 years after the film's release. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this video.
Come calling for me.
Hello everybody, it's D-Labs and welcome to my channel. 3 months ago I asked you all a question on my Passenger review. What would you like me to review next? I gave you 2 choices. I gave you Evil Dead or Jason Goes to Hell. A long time ago, originally my friend Maps asked me to review this movie and I just didn't get around to it until now. But I asked Maps if he's willing to do the review with me and he was happy to help me. So that's awesome. Thank you, Maps, for being here.
Thank you.
Just recently, Maps released a really cool rap song on his channel. But I thought I was the rap king, so I challenged him to a rap battle. And this is what happened. Yo, 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 welcome to the greatest rap battle of all time. On this side, we got D-Labs from Kamasi Entertainment. And over here, we got Maps from How Big Is the Map? So let's check out D-Labs' rap skills.
You wanna see me act a real tough? Step up to me, boy, man, you will get shot. Smoking the blunts until I'm on top. My time is coming, here we go, wop. D-Labs is here and I'm bringing the fear. See you over there, you're looking so queer. Step up to me, boy, and you will get hurt. Smoking the D, ya bitches with the skirts. You said a what? You said that to me? Man, you be playing, you be a freak.
Ho-ho! That was pretty good, that was pretty good. Alright, Maps, let's see what you can do.
Step at me
me in this car, let's go for a trip. A very fast trip, police might gonna flip. Let's bring up the map and find out where we are. How big is the map? Do we have to go far? Where's the end of that map? Is it over here? We have to march this way, the way to go is clear. Now put away that map and start this freaking car. We rap while we drive, we feel like we are stars. We're fast on the streets, we're fast on the beach. Get far across the map too slow, this is need for speed. Undercover motherfuckers who don't like to curse. No cursing on this channel, not in the hypest verse. Everybody's cursing on YT, let's be original.
Well, damn, man! I think we know who the winner is, right, guys? Yeah. Awesome! We got a winner, Max! Well, I guess let's check out the original Evil Dead review. In 1979, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and some friends went to investors to ask for $100,000 to make a horror movie, eventually getting $90,000 from investors to actually produce Evil Dead. The total film's budget and advertising came out to a total of $350,000. But in theaters, it made $2.6 million.
All hooked up in high school, and then we found that one guy had costumes and another guy had a good camera. On weekends we just would go out and shoot.
Bruce Campbell starred in every Super 8 movie that we made because very simply he was the good-looking one and still is. So he said, the girls like you, we'll put you in front of the camera. Tappert, Bruce Campbell, and myself all bought business suits and matching briefcases.
We would sit down and pretend that we were businessmen. That was all part of the filmmaking process. We thought we had to do it because it never occurred to us to go to California because it was 3,000 miles away.
We first got jobs so that we could raise seed money. Then we hired attorneys to saying, in legal terms, if X person invests X amount of money, they own X percentage in this movie that we're going to make. We then made a Super 8 movie called Within the Woods. The reason we made this picture was to show the potential investors that these kids, us, that we could make a picture that worked, a horror movie that actually could scare them.
And I remember we showed this first little Super 8 movie in the detergent aisle of a grocery store after it closed to a couple of merchants, and they didn't invest.
Spirit is something that floated through the woods at a different height than we're used to seeing things. It was not artistic pressure, it was all financial pressure, because there were no expectations on me as a kid. It was all a question of, I have $90,000 of these people's money who I promised I would make a good movie out of. This has got to be good.
Now, I found that pretty interesting. How about you guys? If you did, leave a comment below, let me know. But now, let's get to the reviews. Well, here we go. I think this movie is extremely brutal. It is hard to watch, man, because even though it's cheaply made, it looks realistic. And the gore and the violence is brutal throughout the entire movie. I'm surprised this passed any type of rating board for rated R. This is definitely an NC-17 that slipped through the cracks. And it doesn't take long before the movie just starts to go fucking nuts. Like, I'd have to say around the 20-minute mark, it just goes insane. This movie probably has the most continuity errors I've ever seen in any film ever. One scene he'll be splashed in the face with blood, the next scene the blood will be missing. One scene he'll be facing one area of the wall, the next scene he'll be facing a completely different wall. It happens through the entire series of Evil Dead. Now, are these bad things? Honestly, I'd say no, because it is kind of cool to notice these moments and say, hey, wait a minute, his whole face was covered with blood, or wait a minute, wasn't his arm cut right there? It's cool to notice these moments if you think you're clever enough to notice them. I don't know. And I understand the way that they filmed this, that they weren't able to catch every little thing, you know, like certain actors had to jump in and out. The script changed a lot, and also they ran out of money and had to get refunded throughout the year again. What the movie really needed was a script supervisor. He's the one who's supposed to prevent those little slips from happening. I think the actors do a good job. They're not really professional, you can clearly tell. And also, even Bruce Campbell, he doesn't look like he really knows what he's doing yet. The story and the actual atmosphere of this movie is surprisingly well done.
If you actually go step by step of what Bruce Campbell actually goes through in this movie, it is crazy. It's unbelievable that any character could survive that. Also, I kind of like the bleak, evil ending that this movie has. But overall, when you watch this movie and then you think of part 2, this kind of feels like a work print. You know, like a tester before you try the real film out. But still, it's an excellent film, man. If you ever want to watch something on Halloween to really creep you out and go, holy shit, this is probably the movie. So I'm going to rate this a 7 out of 10. It's not the best, but I think the fact that it isn't the best and the fact that it's kind of a B film really brings the charm and what makes it so much fun to watch. So originally Maps was the one who suggested me to review this, so I was hoping that he'd help me with it, and he did. Maps, take it away.
Thank you, D-Labs. Evil Dead. Yeah, I like that. And I'm talking about the original movie made in 1981. The story is so simple, and that's what makes it so real. Everybody can experience a vacation like this. You want to stay in a little house in the middle of a beautiful forest together with your friends? This can only be fun. Too bad for this group of teenagers that after a few minutes in the movie, the fun slowly disappears. It starts with an old clock that stops ticking. One of the girls is just drawing this clock while this is happening. Immediately after that, she hears a voice outside. After that, she draws a strange evil face. This is all happening in the first 10 minutes. Yes, in the first 10 minutes. There's no need to get to know the characters, there's no time for chatting. These actors are so convincing that you get the feeling like you already know them. So no talking about their love lives and all that. No, it's one of these movies where the people are in trouble very soon. They hear something in the basement, and of course they want to find out what it is. They find an old book. This book looks very credible. You immediately believe it's an evil book.
Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Roughly translated, Book of the Dead. It was this blood that was used to ink the book. In the year 1300 AD, the book disappeared.
In the book you see that same face the girl had drawn on a piece of paper. They also find this tape recorder with a tape, and of course they're going to listen to that. And then the fun begins. The man on the tape is saying some strange words, and hell breaks loose. After this moment there's no more fun for these friends. There's no more humor, no more jokes. This movie is dead serious. Unlike Evil Dead 2, which had much more humor, especially when the hand of Bruce Campbell came alive. And really unlike Evil Dead 3, The Army of Darkness with all the skeletons. That was a weird movie with too much jokes and with zero evilness. Evil Dead 1, this movie is so deadly serious it could have been made by Evil himself. I really like movies like these with real evil in it. They try to keep this serious, hopeless feeling, this hopeless atmosphere through the whole movie. They maintain the credibility. The way the characters look when they are possessed is credible too. It's so realistic, even if you watch the movie right now this year. And this movie is made in 1981. Just like The Exorcist that was made in 1973, it looks so real, old, but still more believable than more than 95% of the horror movies of today. Everybody who has seen this movie remember how the head of the possessed girl was being kicked off by Bruce Campbell with a shovel. Her head was on the ground, still laughing, and the rest of the body was above him, dripping blood on his face. Even that looked realistic. Can I come up with something negative things about this movie? Well, maybe it goes a bit too slow sometimes. It's too dark sometimes and it all takes place at the same spot. But these things are all necessary for the atmosphere. Okay, maybe the end wasn't good enough, because the end came way too fast. As you can hear, I really like this movie. I give Evil Dead 1 a 9 out of 10. Thanks D-Labs for reviewing this on your channel. Our biggest map is evil. Our biggest map is out of here.
Damn, man, I was so close to win. Oh man, you're the best rapper ever, Maps. Thank you so much for being on my channel.
Welcome to Creepshow 2. Stephen King.
Hey, what?
Creepshow 2. Rated R.
Hello everybody, it's D-Lab. I'm here to bring you Creepshow 2. This is an oldie but a goldie, so here we go.
We'll be seeing you. Starts tomorrow. Check local newspaper for...
Creepshow 2 consists of 4 stories. One called The Old Chief Woodenhead, The Raft, and The Hitchhiker. And then there's a fourth story in between each of the stories is about a little kid that gets a human fly trap to kill some bullies. Now, the first story, Old Chief Woodenhead, is about an elderly couple named Ray and Martha. The nicest couple you'll probably ever meet in your life. They've been debating to shut down the store because the town went under a long time ago. Also, at the front of the store, they have this big wooden statue that they take pride in. But there's something creepy about the statue. It almost seems like it moves all the time by itself. And it does, because clearly there's a man inside the suit. And the thing never looks like it's stationary. It's always moving just a little bit. Within 5 minutes of introducing the characters, they're basically robbed by these 3 thugs. One of the thugs has super long hair and he thinks he should be like a movie star because of his hair looking so awesome. And the other 2 thugs are these 2 fucking retarded little asshole kids, man. It's a joke. Especially the fat one. Worst actor I've ever seen in my fucking life. Now, during the robbery, the elderly couple is killed, and the native statue comes to life to avenge their death. Each of the kill scenes, I think, are cheap and quick, and the last 30 seconds of the movie makes no sense. One of the town folks are alerted to the fact that the 2 elderly couple could be dead, but he doesn't even go in the store to investigate. He waves at the statue and he drives off. Anyway, I'm going to give this story a 7 out of 10. Alright, the next grisly spooky story is called The Raft. This is the weakest of the 3. It's complete rubbish. Everything about it makes no fucking sense. Each of the characters are stupid. It's like the movie wants you to hate them so you're happy when they die. And also at the end there's practically a rape scene. I don't know, I just fucking hated it of all 3 the most. And I think the ending is just terrible. When one of the kids finally makes it out of danger, he brags about the situation and then he dies. These are the most unrealistic people I've ever seen on screen. I give it a 4 out of 10. The last one is called The Hitchhiker. This one is probably my favorite. It's about this woman driving home and she accidentally kills a hitchhiker with her car. She bolts from the scene of the crime hoping that no one saw her cause the accident. But on the way home, all of a sudden she's seeing the same hitchhiker she killed. From that point on, the dead hitchhiker basically tries to kill her, saying the same menacing words. "Thanks for the ride, lady. Thanks for the ride, lady." He says it over and over again. Honestly, this is fucking creepy. In the hitchhiker segment, there's only 3 actors, and they all do a good job, especially the woman who's driving home. She probably has the best performance in the entire film. So I give this an 8.5 out of 10. I liked it a lot. And then there's that last little bit of the cartoon that's in between each of the segments. I hated it. It looks horrible. It's drawn so poorly. I give it a 1 out of 10. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give a thumbs up, a comment below, tell me what you think.
Tales from the Crypt.
Hello everybody, it's D-Labs, and I'd like to welcome to my Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight review. The first thing I probably should mention is the HBO TV show Tales from the Crypt, which I watched quite a bit. My favorite episode is The Switch with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's disgusting what people will do to stay young.
What's the matter with you? Want to keep that 90-pound corpse for the rest of your death? Keep pumping. I tell the story.
We want to pump you up.
Oh, man, I love that show. It was so awesome. All the big celebrities made their own little episodes. It was really cool. And every once in a while, I checked out the Tales from the Crypt Keeper cartoon. It was only on for a few years, but still, it was a very creepy, awesome cartoon. Now, in 1995 was the first time Tales from the Crypt ever hit the big screen. It did it one more time with Bordello of Blood, but because Bordello of Blood bombed so badly, they never released another movie. Now, the story is kinda all over the place, but basically it's about these demons throughout the ages trying to collect these keys. There's 7 of them. They collected 6 keys, and where do you think they find key number 7? Yes, sirree bobber, here on Earth. William Sandler's protecting it, which originally came from Jesus. The story goes all over the place, but yeah. So William Sandler's character hides out in this old church, which also is a hotel. But not too far behind him, there's Billy Zane. Billy Zane is the demon who wants the key to basically destroy the Earth. Eventually, Billy Zane tracks down the key, and when this happens, all hell breaks loose.
We'll find out soon enough.
Why wait?
Also, I had to give props to Billy Zane. He's such a crazy and hilarious bad guy. Even the cast members think so.
I was a fan of his, and he really completed the picture.
I don't know how he came up with half the stuff that he came up with. I mean, there's no blueprint. It's like there's the words on the page, but then he brought so much fun to that.
And because of this movie, James Cameron, the director of Titanic, cast him as the villain because he plays a good asshole. And there's also one other actress I like to shout out. That's Jada Pinkett Smith, or Jada Pinkett. This is before she married Will Smith and became a power couple. But she's a very talented actress. And then you got your supporting cast, which all do a good job. But I feel like they're there just to cause trouble so someone dies.
Homer, this is for 4 years of minimum wage, you asshole.
I do think that a couple of the characters are a tad cliche. Like the prostitute whore, the jock asshole boyfriend, or the two stupid deputies. I've seen these characters 1,000 times before. I think all the practical effects and special effects are extremely well done. Almost every song you see here is a gem. I remember when I was a little kid, me, my mom, and my brother drove to Vancouver, and I listened to this soundtrack over and over and over again because it was the only CD I had. My favorite song in the entire soundtrack is Hey Man Nice Shot by Filter. It is played right at the beginning of the film during the car chase, and it really pumps you up and gets you ready for the movie. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the ending. This is a horror comedy, but at the end of the movie, it almost turns into a straight comedy. And also, it doesn't make any sense. Billy Zane is a demon who wants the key to destroy humanity. But once he gets the key, he starts dancing around Jada Pinkett Smith, talking about he loves this and that. All he had to do was kill the last survivor and continue on with his mission. It's like everybody fought tooth and nail, dying in the process, to keep that key away from him, and Billy Zane pretty much slips on a banana and dies on his own. It's ridiculous. So here we go. I rate this a 7.5. It would have got a 9 if it didn't have that joke ending, because the film had enough comedy. You don't have to throw more comedy at the end to force people to laugh. I wanted a more dramatic ending. So that's basically my review of Demon Knight, everybody. Hopefully you guys liked this. If you did, please give a thumbs up. Hello everybody, it's D-Labs. I'm here to do a review and a little bit of info on Frighten Us, Peter Jackson classic. Well, it all starts with Peter Jackson. He used his own company called Weta Digital to create all the visual and practical effects using computer-generated imagery. Visual effects supervisor Richard Taylor explained that the effects on the Frighteners were very complex due to Weta's inexperience with computer technology in the mid-90s. With so many ghosts among its cast, Frighteners required more digital shots than any movie made at that time. For a special effects company that had been in existence less than 3 years, 18 months prior to completing Frighteners was largely stressful. Actors' interaction had to be filmed twice, once with a human character acting on the set, then with the ghost character acting against a blue screen. The two elements would later be digitally composed into one shot using a split-screen photography. These sequences require perfect timing from the cast, as they trade dialogue with characters that are merely blank air. And as you can see from my special effects award-winning review of Class of 1999, I know how hard it is to deal with green screen bullshit. Okay, enough of the technical side. Do you guys want to hear something really funny? Check this out.
The Frighteners, and it happened a couple of times, was when Michael forgot what film he was in.
The judge, and I was supposed to call out to him, and I just kept saying Doc from Back to the Future. It was like some weird out-of-body thing.
Little cook in the Pony Express, huh, Doc? Whoa! I called him Doc. That's fucking back.
I just go, Doc, I'm Judge. Shit.
Hey, boys!
Reaper! Doc! Doc, I did it again.
Peter Jackson tries to make the mood on the set very happy and keep the whole thing very enjoyable during filming.
Perspectives of Dammers and you know, like close-ups of the eyes and close-ups of the mouth. And
Michael went off, and so I lost it on that. So he had to take a walk, and I could even hear him on the soundstage sort of muffling a laugh. But what about the guy in the toilet? We know you didn't like her.
Well, I just thought that stuff was interesting and I wanted to show it to you, but now let's start with the reviews. Frighteners is a horror comedy about this individual named Frank Bannister that can see ghosts, and he kind of used this to con people. And at the beginning of the film, you see him kind of scam a few people, but that's more of a side plot. The real story of this movie is a murder mystery. And that's the exact reason why I like this movie, because it has a good mystery and a good twist at the end. And it has some slick and really impressive special effects. But this always pissed me off about the movie is how fucking blue all the ghosts look. And also, you made the ghosts like too funny and nice, so when the Grim Reaper shows up, you don't fear him, you don't really care that he's on the screen. He looks cool. I really felt like the first time you saw him, it should have been more frightening, but it just wasn't. But what kind of makes up for all that is the backstory of the Grim Reaper. I wish they focused more on this story element, the massacre that happened a long time ago. I found that way more interesting than the weird comedy the movie has. It's kind of like a slapstick comedy. I can't really place it. I don't know, I guess that's British humor, but I didn't really get it. It kind of went over my head. The closest thing I can compare it to is Benny Hill. I used to watch Benny Hill when I was a kid with my dad. It has the same comedy style. So let's talk a little bit about the acting. I think Michael J. Fox does a really good job in the film. I don't like his two sidekick ghosts. I think those actors suck. They're annoying. And I never really cared too much about what happened to them. Now, one other actor I gotta shout out is Jake Busey. He is a very talented and freaky looking dude. Like after he made The Frighteners, he was in Twister, Contact, Starship Troopers, Enemy of the State, Tomcats. He was in a couple of other big movies, but he wasn't ever the star of anything, and he kind of disappeared in 2004. One last thing I'd like to mention before I rate this is the ending. The last half an hour of the film is perfect. The main reason why I think this is because it takes itself more serious at the end. It really becomes like a horror thriller. It's how I think the entire film should have been. So overall, this is a good movie. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Beetlejuice, but I think Beetlejuice is a little bit better. So I'm going to rate this a 7 out of 10. I would have rated it a little higher if the comedy wasn't so, I don't know, slapstick. But the last half an hour of the movie and the backstory of the Grim Reaper makes up for all the comedy that I think misses a little bit. Alright everybody, that's what I think of Frighteners, but please stick around. My good buddy Redneck would like to say what he thinks.
Howdy folks, Redneck Gamer here, and D-Labs has asked me to give my 2 cents on the Frighteners movie, so here I go. Firstly, it should be known that this film is not entirely a horror movie. I mean, technically it is, and it could definitely be filed under horror, but it's more of a comedy. That's not entirely unheard of for horror movies. There are films like Jack Frost, the film about the serial killer snowman, and of course, the Leprechaun films. These movies tend to have more comedic elements than they do horror elements, and you know, sometimes comedy works to a horror movie's advantage, though it should come to no surprise to y'all that the guy that made this film, Peter Jackson, also made the comedy horror films Bad Taste and Dead Alive, both horror films that had more of a comedic touch. Anyway, I like The Frighteners a lot. It's a damn good movie. It's funny, the special effects for the time were pretty damn good, and it's got one of my all-time favorite actors, Michael J. Fox, in it. Each one of the ghosts are also unique in their own way, especially Judge. I also like the plot. Like, imagine the Monty Python guys telling a ghost story, and that would be the Frighteners. In saying that, I should mention that the humor in this film is very British, which I don't know whether to find that surprising or not, seeing as that Peter Jackson is from New Zealand. Anyway, the movie has 3 antagonists. The main one is the Grim Reaper, whom has a twist at the final act of the movie. And then there's this FBI agent named Milton Dammers, whom happens to be mentally unstable. And I'm not going to give away who the third antagonist is. Let's just say the final act of Frighteners is one big twist. Michael J. Fox did an excellent job portraying the character of Frank Bannister. Now, I'm not going to say that his character is like Marty McFly from the Back to the Future films, because, well, he's not. His character is more along the lines of a reluctant hero type. He's friends with a few ghosts that help him run a ghost-busting type of business, though everyone in the town thinks he's a fraud. And in a sense, he is. Frank gets his ghoul buddies to go haunt somebody's house only for him to conveniently show up to deal with the problem. Though, in all honesty, he's doing it all for a reason. He's a widower who's living in a house that he designed, and it's not fully constructed yet. And he's got bills to pay and a mouth to feed, and he's barely getting by. In other words, Frank is living by the seat of his britches, pretty much. And he's doing all he can do to survive. Another thing that I liked about this movie is that it has Arlie Ermey playing a bit part as a drill sergeant ghost. God, I love that guy. Anyway, I would say Frighteners is a really good film. It's not exactly scary, but what it lacks in scares, it makes up for in funniness. So I'm going to give this film an E for excellent. It's that good of a film. It's also a nice little popcorn movie. It's one of those films that you can watch over and over enough times to where it won't even get boring or stale. Well, that's my verdict on this movie, and I really appreciate Dylan letting me give my opinions on it. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you very much, Redneck, for that awesome review, and I appreciate you helping me on this one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. We're here to review Innocent Blood. Now, this is a horror drama mafia movie. It's a little weird. The movie is about a beautiful, sexy vampire that's hungry, and there's a big mafia war going on. So she takes advantage of the situation, and when she feeds on the mafia people, she makes it look like it's a gang hit. Eventually, she makes a big mistake. She feeds on the mafia boss, but she doesn't kill him completely. So he resurrects as a vampire himself, and then he makes his crew members vampires. So she's forced to try to track down all the mafia dudes and kill them. There's a cop also that tries to help her, and there's like sexual tension between them, and it's awesome. There is this weird, bizarre sex scene in the movie that's really cool to watch, and also this movie's very gory. Besides being gory and violent, it's also very funny. It's a dark comedy. And if you look closely, a lot of the mafia cast members will eventually be on The Sopranos. And this isn't the first time I talked about this film. In my top 6 forgotten horror movies video, I mentioned this movie because I like to bring forgotten movies like this to the forefront. Because this is a clever movie that was completely forgotten, with an excellent cast, great story, and it's really good. And speaking of cast, there's a hilarious cameo by Sam Raimi, the director of Evil Dead and the Spider-Man movies.
Shut the door. Yeah, but you're in the freezer.
Okay, hit the fucking lights. Yeah, okay.
Now, there's a few things I don't like about this movie. For one, it's a tad long. There's this whole side story about trying to get information on the mob. It's boring and dumb. And once it starts getting to the vampire story, then it gets good. Also, this movie needed way more action, and the ending is so anticlimactic, it's practically boring. But overall, this is still a good movie, so I give it a 7 out of 10. It probably deserves a 6.5, but I'm gonna give it a 7. But that's what I think of the movie. Here are two of the greatest reviewers of all time of what they think of the movie.
Our next movie is Innocent Blood, a cross between a vampire movie and a gangster movie, and not a very good example of either one. The movie is narrated by Marie, a lonely and hungry vampire. Anthony LaPaglia plays the cop who begins to suspect that the murder epidemic may have a supernatural origin. The only reason he's still alive at the end of this scene is she's falling in love with him. The big payoff in the movie is when the gangsters become vampires, and that is an intriguing idea, but Innocent Blood doesn't do very much with it. The gangsters stand around with silly grins looking like happy vampires and biting the throats of new recruits, while countless story possibilities are wasted. In fact, this whole movie seemed like good ideas thrown away on a careless script.
Yeah, I think they really blew it. This is director John Landis, the Blues Brothers, Animal House. I think that he's a pretty good action director, but I think it's the slapstick comedy really doesn't work here. The most exciting part is Anne Perriot in some very erotic scenes.
Familiar with some of the vampire novels by Anne Rice?
Not at all.
Set down in New Orleans.
I know the names.
That kind of feeling that she has in her books was captured in the best scenes in this movie. And then you have other scenes where Landis will throw away the whole reality of a scene just to get an obvious gag or some kind of a movie in-joke, as if his friends can enjoy it at a screening somewhere.
Huh. Well, I guess they didn't like it too much. I didn't mind it. It was kind of a cool crossover between vampires and a mafia movie. Alright, so there's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same.
Hello everybody, welcome to Horror October. I'm Dylan, and I'm here to review Halloween 4. The Return of Michael Myers. But one thing I kind of want to focus on right away is the return part, because in Halloween 3 there wasn't any Michael Myers. Actually, Halloween 3 is a completely different movie altogether. You see, when John Carpenter sold the rights to Halloween, the new producers thought that it would be a cool idea if they have a different story for Halloween every year that didn't feature Michael Myers. And the first wacko story these guys came up with is about this crazy cult that makes these masks that when little kids wear them on Halloween, it'll melt their brains and turn into slugs and shit. It's fucking weird.
You don't really know much about Halloween. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red.
This is an emergency.
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Stop it! After audiences and critics saw the movie, most of them asked where Michael Myers was. So the producers decided to bring him back. I think one of the reasons why Halloween 3 failed so badly is because it's a very grim, depressing movie. It's so bleak and has such an evil ending, I'm surprised that it was ever released in theaters. So if I had to rate part 3 just to throw it out there, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Now the last time we saw Michael Myers was in part 2, when Dr. Loomis took 2 perfect shots at his eyeballs and then started him on fire. That was supposed to be the end of Michael Myers' story. But to bring him back in this one, they basically said he was in a coma for 10 years and he awakes. They also bring back Dr. Loomis, and they add a new character, Laurie Strode's daughter, Jamie Lloyd. Originally, Jamie Lee Curtis was approached to be in the film, but she declined, so they basically said her character was killed in a car accident. I remember watching Halloween 4 when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed it. But watching it now as an adult, it's a very slow-burning movie. Besides Jamie, most of the characters are stale and boring to watch. And Michael Myers, he moves like a snail. and some of the characters literally stand there for Michael Myers just to walk up and kill them. That scene where the kid's trying to load his shotgun and Michael Myers just walks up and kills him, I think that's the stupidest scene I've ever seen in my life. I'm just saying, I find it very surprising that Michael Myers, or the Shape, he could catch up to anybody to do anything. It's just surprising. Another good character is Dr. Loomis, but he's not in the movie very much until the end. He's not only there to try to stop Michael Myers, but he's also there to kind of build him up in the movie as this monster, unstoppable force that doesn't have any superpowers. He's basically just a human. Even when you watch the ending, the filmmakers knew that just shooting Michael Myers could kill him. And that's how the movie pretty much ends. Until you get your complete bullshit sequel that makes no sense. But Halloween 5 will be left for a different review in the future. But this movie also, I think the violence is very tame. It's not brutal, it's not very graphic. To be honest, the only real gore scene in the movie is when Michael Myers stabs this guy in the forehead with his thumb. And the rest of the kills are either done by choking, one guy dies by being electrocuted, and the rest are stabbed with knives. I think it would have been very helpful for this film to have more clever death scenes, because ultimately, you'll end up hating almost every character in this movie anyway. Besides Jamie Lloyd and Dr. Loomis, everybody in this movie is so unlikable, you'll just hate them. So it would have been a lot cooler if they had more painful, crazy deaths, because they're all such douches. Okay, well, let's rate this. This is definitely not the best Halloween. I'm going to rate this a 6.5. It's not much better than Halloween 3. At least in Halloween 3, that storyline was somewhat original. In Halloween 4, there's nothing original. It's so cliche, it's been done 1,000 times. Realistically, the only thing this movie has going for it is a clever theme song and nostalgia. And that's it. Well, that's another review down the drain.
On Halloween 1963, in Haddonfield, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers murdered his own sister in cold blood. But it was 15 years later, on Halloween 1978, that the legend, The Myers Murders, was born. Having escaped protective custody, Michael returned to Haddonfield, where he brutally massacred the occupants of a neighborhood home, leaving teenager Laurie Strode as the sole survivor.
Hello everybody, I'm Dracula.
I'm Skullface.
And we're here to review Halloween 2018. Scary. This is technically, I would say like a reboot kind of sequel, where they're continuing after the first Halloween and they're disregarding all the other Halloweens. This is written by Danny McBride. He's actually like a comedian, which is kind of surprising that he actually, was involved with this. Yeah, so what'd you think of this movie?
Honestly, I'm gonna say this was actually my first Halloween that I've seen.
You never seen any of the other Halloweens?
No.
Oh, that's surprising, to be honest.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
But anyways, I felt it was pretty violent, but it just wasn't that tier of violence that I expected from a horror film, actually.
What do you mean, like not violent enough?
Not violent enough, really.
I don't know, there's a couple of brutal scenes.
I expected more of like constant beating down, like somebody actually getting their head struck in. No, they actually, you don't even see the beating, and then all of a sudden the body's there in some of the cases.
I guess a few of the deaths you see off screen, or they're off screen, and then you kind of see the after effects, but I think that works out for it. I think that, like, how many, I think we saw like 10 people get killed. How many people do you need to see die?
I guess.
You know what I mean? But well, what did you think of the actual, like, what did you think of Jamie Lee Curtis?
Actually, I thought she did a really good job.
She did an awesome job.
Yeah.
She did a really good kind of like, I'm a crazy, possessed, angry lady who wants to get vengeance. And she's more of a person who wants vengeance more than trying to protect her family.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. And also the music, I felt like I've seen a couple of clips of Halloween, and I felt that they brought back the original music. It wasn't the original music?
It was the original music.
Okay, then yeah.
Not only that, they brought back the original intro. The original intro, like with the pumpkin, That is what they did in the first 2 Halloweens, and I love that intro.
Oh, wow.
It was really good. Like, I would say the first 20 minutes of the movie, the first 20 minutes is pretty kind of boring.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I wasn't really invested too much, but once Michael escapes and puts on the mask, I was like, oh man, I'm really into this.
What about when the doctor put on the mask?
Now that's another thing. That made no sense to me. Unrealistic.
Okay.
What'd you think of that?
Honestly, I felt it was unnecessary.
Like a scene that just wasn't necessary to be in the movie at all?
Pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
you just wanted to get an arousal out of it? Like,
Or try to understand, I guess, why people kill people, but it's just stupid. No doctor would do this.
what do you think of the ending then?
You know, when he goes into that final battle with Jamie Lee Curtis, it's like 10 minutes. It's not even. You know what I mean? That was disappointing. I want it to be longer. I want it to be more brutal. I want it to be like she trained for 40 years or whatever to do that. She didn't do anything. She got punched in the face a bunch of times and she screamed.
A bit, yeah.
I don't get it. That ending was weak.
All right, then let's wrap this up. What would you rate this?
If I had to rate this, I'm going to rate this a 9.5.
Ooh, you really enjoyed it.
I think they really brought it back to the roots. They made it scary. I jumped a bunch of times watching this movie. I really liked the characters. I thought it was gory. There was plenty of deaths for me. And if they happened to come out with an unrated version, that would make it a 10. Because I bet there's some stuff they cut out they couldn't show in theaters.
Okay. I would have to rate this an 8. The reason why is just the doctor threw me for a loop.
Okay, well, it's still good. That's a great score. No, it's still overall. I bet for your first Halloween movie, I think it's pretty good. Yeah. Do you want to go watch the other ones?
I might actually. I might.
Yeah.
I might want to.
Well, at least watch the Halloween one, because that would I suggest, because this is like based off the first one, right? So, all right. Thank you everybody for watching. We're happy you checked out our spooky Halloween review. Please check out all the other videos on my channel, like Edmonton Behind the Mic. I have Edmonton Dish coming up very soon, and other great videos. Hello everybody, this is D-Labs, and I'm so happy to be back doing reviews for you fine people, but I got a couple of shout-outs to do first. My first shout-out is to Redneck Gamer 777. This guy's awesome. His reviews are, I have to admit, are better than mine. He gives you info and reviews at the same time. Great guy. Ever played a huge open world game and said to yourself, how long would it take to walk across that map? But you don't have a spare 4 hours to find out? Well, here's the channel that'll do it for you. How big is the map? Great channel. Check it out. Mental Hospital 3 is a survival horror game on your iPhone and Android phone. I played it on my Galaxy Note 5, and I had it at the highest resolution. And I think for a iPhone game, this actually looks pretty fucking sweet. And with cell phones becoming more and more powerful, it's not surprising that these graphics can be like shown on an actual cell phone. All the environments you encounter are very detailed. It's oozing with atmosphere, just like dread when you walk through this world. And it has a few good scares, but because it's on a cell phone, I feel like it just doesn't give you the scare factor that a console or a PC could do. Just my opinion. I did a review of Outlast not too long ago, and I found that game way more scary, but it was a lot more harder to progress through the game. It was very unforgiving, where I found this game a lot more forgiving, and it actually wanted you to continue going and see what's next, where Outlast just felt it was just hitting you over the head with just too much dread and fear. This game gives you just enough. I feel it has a good balance. But one thing I don't like about these type of fucking games is you can't fight back. Why can't you fight back? That's what makes no sense to me. But it's one of those games where you have to hide when you see an enemy. But it has a Fear. If you ever played Fear on the Xbox, it has a good element of that, because there's this evil woman that just chases you around this mental hospital. And when she finds you, it's always like some weird psychedelic trip. She takes you to a different environment, or she screws with your vision. And also in this game, when the rooms get too dark, you have your night vision. When you click on that, everything goes green. But the reason I don't like it too much in this game is because it has too much film grain. So yes, it does brighten up the room, but also kind of gives you a disadvantage because you can't really see what's in front of you. And also when you have your night vision on, you don't see notes or these like soul things you can pick up throughout the game. All the notes and reports you find in the world tell a pretty decent story, but your main goal is to get out of the mental hospital. That's pretty much your first goal that pops up in the game. The controls feel pretty fluent and they work very well, but sometimes to turn around quickly, it takes a little while. But still, the controls are pretty solid. So I'd have to say overall, I really enjoyed this game more than I did of Outlast. And this game is a trial and error type of game. You're going to die a lot. And even though this game is easier than Outlast, you still will die a lot. So if you enjoy the survival horror genre, then this game is pretty sweet. It's definitely a buy. I paid $1.29, and that was a long time ago, so who knows how much it is now. But even if this game is $2, it is worth it. So I have to give this game, honestly, a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. The no fighting mechanics still piss me off, but I still enjoyed this game. I suggest everybody who likes survival horror to pick this up. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I have many Android games reviews coming. I also am reviewing on Xbox One Resident Evil 0 right now, so I have a bunch of reviews coming, and plus my What Up News is going to be starting up here again right away. I'd like to thank everybody who watched this video, and if you don't mind to do me a favor and push that like button, and also leave a comment and tell me what you think of this game, or just want to ask me a question, or just say hello. I love reading comments, I always answer back.
In bioweapon experiments. The Raccoon City Police Department's Special Stars Unit immediately began investigation of the affair. The case was apparently closed, thanks to the efforts of STARS members Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. But the Umbrella Corporation's experiments were far from finished.
To review Resident Evil 2. And also I got my good buddy Redneck to help me with the review as well. Now, after the monstrous hit of Resident Evil 1, the producers wanted to make Resident Evil 2 as quickly as possible, so they started production immediately on Resident Evil 2. But when the game got to about 60% complete, they pulled the plug and scrapped it because the producers thought the game was dull and boring. So they started over, but used a few of the elements from the original game. Here's a little bit of footage of the cancelled game. If you'd like to see the whole video of this, please check out the link in the description. Look for Games Club if you want to see the entire video. It's really cool. You know, it's crazy to think that Resident Evil 2 would have been a completely different game. But it's better off because it became a smash hit and the critics loved it. Alright, now here's a little bit about the plot. The game is set 2 months after the events of the first Resident Evil. In a Midwestern American mountain community of Raccoon City, nearly all the citizens have been transformed into zombies by an outbreak of the T-virus, a new type of biological weapon secretly developed by the pharmaceutical company Umbrella. The game's two protagonists are Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie police officer on his first day on the force, and Claire Redfield, a college student looking for her brother Chris. Having just arrived in the city, Leon and Claire make their way to Raccoon Police Department, seeking protection from the mutant population. There, they discover most of the policemen have been killed already, and Chris has left town to investigate Umbrella's headquarters in Europe. So basically, after Chris leaves, they both of them have no reason to be there no more, and their goal is to flee the city. And as they're escaping, they find themselves in really unique and cool settings, with one of the most interesting and fulfilling Resident Evil storylines of them all. If you ever wanted to play these old Resident Evil games, I would suggest playing this one first, because it has a better storyline, easier puzzles. The puzzles in this are a lot more simple. In the first Resident Evil, I found the game more difficult to figure out what to do. And I find that this game is designed more for a mainstream audience because it holds your hand the entire game and has you solving puzzles and seeing cutscenes roughly every 10 minutes. And finally, it's a lot more generous with the ammo and health. Pretty much through my entire playthrough, I could either use my handgun or my shotgun, and it gave me enough ammo for it, so I didn't have to use that crappy knife. And herb or health, there was enough for you to smoke all night, man. There's a lot of health is basically what I'm saying. So you're probably thinking, well, if the puzzles are easy, and it gives you lots of ammo, and it gives you lots of health, how is it a survival horror? I would say what makes this game a survival horror is just learning the controls. This tank controls is tricky as shit. And it doesn't help the fact that your camera angles are in these weird positions, so when you're aiming, it just makes things way more difficult. After a lot of practice, you do eventually learn the controls pretty good, but still, they will screw you over a lot. Another thing that makes the game a bit harder is the limited items you can carry. You can only carry 8 items at a time, and this game will overwhelm you with puzzle items that you'll have to carry, but lucky for you, you have a storage device you can store everything, but they're only in save points in the game, and that's a pain in the ass to have to run back there to grab a certain item to go use somewhere else. There's a lot of backtracking in this game, which kinda sucks ass. But I notice in this game, when you have to backtrack, sometimes it will trigger a cutscene and show a new character or add a new enemy to the game. So it always wasn't that terrible when I had to backtrack to a location I'd been 12 times. Every once in a while when it introduces a new character, you get to play as that character, like Ada Wong. Not too long after you meet her, you get to control her in her own little side mission. When stuff like this happens, it keeps the game from becoming stale. Even though when you play different characters, they have the exact same controls, it's still really fun to control another character and see the story from their perspective. Go into a room that was locked for you, but unlocked for them. Another huge plus throughout the game will be the boss enemies that you encounter. I would notice a lot like right before you have one of these boss encounters, it would really stock you up with ammo and health. But you would end up losing it all fighting the boss. It's like a perfect balance. And then finally when you reach the end of the game, there's a sweet train sequence that is embedded in my mind forever. If you make it there, you're lucky. Maybe just look it up on YouTube, because the ending to this game is epic. Okay. One last thing I'm going to mention. A huge downfall to this game is the save system. You need an ink ribbon, you need a typewriter, they're in save rooms, and they're awkward and crappy to find, and you'll die and have to redo spots over and over again, and it's terrible. And you're probably thinking I'm going to lower my score because it has a really rough save system. I'm not. Because back in the 90s, that's just how games were. You had to manually save. And it also brings a little charm to the game, and it adds a bit of difficulty. And maybe I'm just spoiled because I'm used to games auto-saving for me now. So if I had to rate this game, going off nostalgia, going off how awesome games were in the 90s, I'm going to have to rate this a 10. This game is pretty epic and pretty insane, and if you haven't played it, try it, because you'll probably end up liking it. Now, I end up recording a lot of footage playing this game, and I was thinking to myself, I should make a little second part review for my good buddy Redneck. And here he is, my good buddy Redneck. Take it away, buddy.
Howdy folks, Redneck here, and good old D-Labs has asked me to give my 2 cents on Resident Evil 2, so here we go. This game is freaking amazing. The story is great, the gameplay is solid, and wouldn't you know it, the atmosphere is still pretty damn eerie as it was in the first Resident Evil. I want to talk a little bit about the history behind this game. Not too much though, because I do plan on reviewing this game in the not too distant future. It should be known that the ending of Resident Evil 1 was left pretty ambiguous. Now, I'm not going to give a whole bunch away. Let's just say that the ending to the first game was made in such a way that it seemed like there wasn't going to be another installment. Capcom did this because they didn't know if they had something on their hands or not. For all they knew, Resident Evil was just going to be a one and done sort of thing. Fortunately, though, the reaction for it was phenomenal, and that led to Capcom getting right to work on a second Resident Evil title. Resident Evil 2 was a big deal for its time. The devs really wanted to get gamers' attention with this one. They wanted this game to be a shining example of what their new series was all about, much like how Sonic 2 was for Sega, or like how Twisted Metal 2 was for Sony. If you can believe this, Capcom actually paid George Romero, yes, the George Romero, a very, very large sum of money to direct a commercial for this game. The commercial has gone down in gaming history as one of, if not the, most expensive advertisement for a video game. To me, that showed that Capcom wanted to tell people that this was zombies in games at its finest. So that was some history, but what about the plot, you might ask? Well, I'm not really going to talk about much of that either, because I'm sure Dylan has already covered that, and again, I'm gonna be reviewing this game in the future. But I'll give you my opinion on it. I think the story in Resident Evil 2 is better than what was given in the previous game. It's still connected to the first game, though it should be known that all the Resident Evil games are connected in one way or another. But Resident Evil 2 stars two new characters, and it's set in a completely different place. Instead of a mansion in the woods infested with zombies, it's now an entire city infested with zombies. I should mention that there are probably more Resident Evil games set in Raccoon City than in any other area in the Resident Evil universe. For example, Resident Evil 3 is set in Raccoon City, and it takes place during the events of Resident Evil 2. Other examples include Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2, which also takes place during the citywide zombie pandemic. And finally, there was Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which chronicled the events of the Umbrella Security Service trying to clean up the zombie mess. To me, that shows that the outbreak of zombies in Raccoon City was a huge thing for the universe of Resident Evil. It was a big chapter of the Resident Evil canon. The two main characters of this game, Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy, would, just like Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, find themselves in numerous Resident Evil titles to follow. One more thing that I should say about the plot is that the survivors now have to deal with a completely new virus that's even more dangerous than the original one from the first game. One other thing that you folks should know right now is that if you're going to play this game, keep in mind that this is a tried and true survivor horror game, meaning that ammo and health is limited. So don't think that you're gonna be going into this shindig guns a-blazing like you would in Left 4 Dead or one of the Call of Duty zombie games. But I think all of y'all should play this game, and the first one too. If you like zombie games, then this is a must-play. And who knows, maybe you'll find yourself getting into the whole series like I did when I was a kid. Hell, I got into it so much that it led me to one of my favorite PS1 games of all time, Dino Crisis. I really hope D-Labs covers that game one day. With all that said, I give Resident Evil 2 an early grade of A for awesome. It's a fucking masterpiece. But beware, folks, because there's one version of this which you should never, under any circumstances, play. And that's the Gamecom's version of Resident Evil 2. Stay as far away as humanly possible from this godforsaken abortion.
Don't worry, Redneck. I'll never touch that fucking garbage. Anyway, thanks for the review. I'm glad you're on my channel, and have yourself a great one, buddy. And if you guys enjoyed that review, check out the description or in the comments, and I'll leave a link to his channel. Hello, everybody. This is D-Labs, and I'm here to do a review for Scream!
Not scared, are you?
Squeak.
This is a Wes Craven film, the same director that made Nightmare on Elm Street. He passed away not too long ago, so rest in peace, Wes. This is an excellent, well crafted movie, basically about a serial killer or a psycho killer going around killing all the kids in the neighborhood. I know this kind of sounds familiar, but this movie does have more scares than an average horror movie. And honestly, it is just a fucking fright to watch from beginning to end. It's really funny too, has great comedic moments. All the actors in it are perfect. There's no one that's out of place or sucks balls. Nev Campbell, she does an excellent job as Sidney Prescott. Skeet Ulrich, honestly, I'm not a fan of that guy, but he even is pretty good in this movie. Jamie Kennedy, for his first role in a movie, it's like he's been acting his whole life. He's hilarious in Scream. Actually, you end up liking all the characters so much you kind of like recognize yourself in one of them. I'm more like Jamie Kennedy, the video store clerk guy, because I actually did that for a living. In the first 10 minutes of this film, it grabs you and never lets go. The music in this is perfect. It builds up the tension just right, and then boom, it snaps and scares the shit out of you just at the right moment. There's lots of blood and gore. This is a rated R movie, so it's for adults. And also, with the just a right amount of comedy, this movie pokes fun at itself, kind of knowing that it's a horror movie. It also inspired another movie called Scary Movie. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was really funny. Actually, back in 1995, I actually sent an audition tape to the producers of Scream, hoping to get a part in the movie. I didn't know much about it, but I still sent the tape, and I happened to found the tape. And check this out, back in 95, me. Hello, my name is Dylan Tomazzi, and I'm sending a tape to the people that are making the Scream movie. I read about it on Fangoria. This is my audition tape. I'm hoping you like my acting. I'm young, but I think I would be good in a movie. I don't know what the movie Scream exactly is about, but I can make guesses from watching older horror movies. So this is my audition tape. I hope you like it. Whoa, did you hear about that killer that's on the loose? Is that like not cool or what? You know, killers suck and I don't like them. This is a scene if I like was with my girlfriend, she was scared about the killer. Here we go. Don't worry, babe. I'll protect you from the stupid killer with these muscles. Yeah. Babe. This would me be fighting the killer if it came at me. I'd be like, killer, no! Don't do that to me! Whoa, bro, no! If I'm being stabbed by the killer, I'm being stabbed. I'm being stabbed a lot and there's blood. Oh my god, the pain. Stop that. Please stop it. This is my cat. She's a good actress too. She's the best. She totally loves me. Just in case there's like maybe a scene where there's an insane asylum or like a mental hospital you have to like walk through and like discover something. Flashlight. Whoa, I discovered this evidence that tells me who the killer is. That's so awesome. Now we know. That's great, guys. This would be if the killer killed my girlfriend and I found her body and I would be reacting to her death. Oh my god. No! Why I love you. Don't die. You've been stabbed bleeding. Oh my god. Ah. Life's so cruel. I'm making a video, Mom! I'm Dylan Tomasi. Wow, I looked so young. I know what you're thinking. How did I not get a part in the movie? I'm such a good actor. I did lots of those audition tapes. Maybe I'll show a few more in the future. Scream is a sweet movie. It has 3 sequels. They all perfectly continue off one another. Sidney Prescott or Neve Campbell comes back for all of them, and so does most of the cast. And it has a really good mystery, kind of like who did it story. If you haven't seen Scream, I'm very shocked. Please go see it right now. Watch them all. You'll absolutely love them. Wes Craven was an amazing director. It's sad that he passed away, but he made a couple of awesome franchises that will live on forever. And I'm not talking about Vampire in Brooklyn. What I'm talking about is the movie that rejuvenated horror films. Literally, horror films were like dead. They would go to theaters and they would bomb. They would basically be direct to video. This movie changed all that. I give Scream a 9 out of 10. It is the definition of a perfect horror movie. I suggest please go watch this movie. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. You were an awesome director, and I loved watching your movies. And if you enjoy this, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, comment. It's all good. Have yourself a good one, people. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike.
This is Dylan.
We're doing another movie review. This one is...
Scream 6! Ah!
Is it 6? I thought it was 4.
No, 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they pumped them up every fucking 2 minutes. So in this movie, we got pretty much a whole new cast, except a few characters from the old films. But what do you think of the cast?
They fucking suck. I am just going to say this. They fucking suck.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
The girls were in there, only probably for sex appeal. There was generic individuals from, like, any horror franchise. They even stated it in the movie and broke down each of their own freaking characters, writing a fucking lineup. Like, yes, that's generic. You don't need to fucking point it out.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. This whole cast was very... I don't want to say millennial. I don't know. Something about them was annoying. And like their presence, just being like, just seeing them on the screen just made you just think, I would never hang out with these type of people.
Yeah.
They're all so, like, just, I don't know, crappy people. Especially that one girl who does, basically becomes the Randy. She's like related to Randy, but basically turns into like Super Randy, and she gives the rules of the franchise. Oh, I could not stand her. Her facial expressions towards this one kid is so annoying, and just stop it. So she takes like all these cliches from these 100 movies, you know, Robert De Niro thing, and she throws it like she might as well just be Jim Carrey. You know what I mean? Because she's so laughable at herself.
Not even Jim Carrey. I would say.
Excuse me, Steven. I was just getting greasy there.
Even below Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's like
because like Jim Carrey's actually funny. She's not even funny.
Yeah, I know. It's like this one woman who looks like Jim Carrey out there, who's like famous now because she kind of looks like the female version of Jim Carrey, but she's not very funny.
Yeah, I know.
It's like her. It's like her. And honestly, they reference these old characters, and they kind of, like, in the way they reference them, is like, I'm the reincarnation of this character, so, yeah, here I am, I'm Andy now, and it's stupid. It's really bad.
Yep.
All the characters are just horrible cliches of the first characters in the first movie, but they're just not interesting. Not real at all. It just seems so, cringy, I guess, is the word?
Not really cringy, I would say, but more strange in a way.
One more thing I'm just going to throw in there. I think it's a kind of a cheap shot to take an old character from the first franchise, from the first film, Gale Weathers.
Hello.
Let's play a game.
You know you're like the 10th guy to try this, right?
Have her fucking die for this stupid scene where she's just like, oh, I want to die. Tell. Fuck you.
And fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you as well.
Just die. Like, you weren't a liked character. Nobody liked you.
She's still alive, though.
I know, but that's the thing, though. Just kill her off. You kill off Dewey. Everyone loved fucking Dewey in the franchise. Yeah. Everyone loved that guy. But you leave this piece of shit woman in the franchise for some stupid fucking reason. I don't even know what the hell. You know what I mean? Like, you should have killed her off in part 5. Had Dewey in this one. Have him almost die. People be like, oh, yay, Dewey's alive. When you hear that Gale's still alive, everyone's like, fuck, lame. Not to see her do that stupid thing in the next movie. It's just like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm really on your side. Off the record. Just nonsense. This movie's fucking dumb. And they take the old people and they use them for nothing. It's just dumb.
Pretty much the Gale thing. She was the only good actor in that whole series. No, in this whole movie, I should say. Because she actually played the parts where she was actually stabbed quite well.
I wish it was real, to be honest. And her character is ridiculous, dude. It's just like, I'm an investigative reporter. That's how I found this out. How did you find that out? You just say this word, investigative reporting, and you can just discover anything. It's ridiculous.
And not only that, though, not only that, she found it before the cops, before the FBI.
Yeah, totally realistic, you know.
So why didn't you mention it to the FBI or the cops?
Or at the end, the killer might have said something, I sent something to Gail, you know, letting her tip to this. That's what I was waiting for, to be honest.
They honestly could have rewrote that whole thing and made it better. But they just gave us this pile of shit.
Yeah, and honestly, even on the phone when they're talking to Gail, that would have been a better ending if you find out it was actually Gail being the killer. I would have been like, whoa, that's fucked. That would have been kind of interesting. At least 3 times in the movie, they kind of stop what's going on to be like, hey, yeah, I forgot we have sexual appeal to each other.
Let's get closer. What you mean. Yes.
Let's just get more closer. And then, like, we're finally going to make out when a killer's, like, fucking coming after us. Just stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then not only that, that chick got stabbed in the back. Actually, now that reminds me that because they were kissing, she got stabbed in the fucking back fully. She also stabbed in the stomach fully. And she's there to have a conversation with her sister like nothing ever happened for 20 minutes on a fucking staircase. It blows my mind how stupid this movie is.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Like, it's a solid piece of shit. I can't believe it made as much. It made $150 million, you know, when we're reviewing. And I know this is going to come out at Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
I'm sure it made $200 million by now. But this is a straight up piece of shit. And if they continue this franchise, I don't know. Direct-to-video kind of comes to mind, or maybe just not seeing the next one. Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna rip on this so hard, but the whole fucking premise of Ghostface is supposed to be a stabbing killer. He's supposed to have a knife.
Yeah.
One scene, he has a gun. He has a friggin' shotgun, and he kills a guy straight up. That's not a Ghostface thing. That's just straight up murder. So they've completely went off the rail on that.
Yeah, I agree. They did change something there, but I do have a theory, but I can't mention it here because that'll spoil the ending. But,
oh, the butler, yes.
The butler, there you go. Exactly. But, I agree. There was a lot of weird fucking flippity floppers in this one.
Yeah.
Flippity floppers or the mippity hoppers.
What do you think of the overall gore, then? I'm going to be asking more you the questions because you're more interested in it, like, you're more attuned to the franchise, I would say. Because I'm like a little out of the loop here.
Yeah, I guess I watched the first one in theaters. Yeah, okay. So yeah. The gore was cheap. It felt quick and fast. There's a lot of stabs in the mouth and the face, and that's cool, you know. But I don't know. There's nothing you can really do with stabs that become too shocking anymore after you've seen, like, you know, 5 other movies like this. Like, I feel like stabbing in the face is like as much as you can go for shock value, and it's not really shocking anymore. That's why so many people got their face stabbed in this movie.
I felt that some of the gore really was low quality, probably because this was a 14-plus movie.
Yeah.
But also, even the scenes where the girl was falling off the building, hit her face on the dumpster, like, you could just see that the makeup that they did was just put a blob on your face,
exactly.
And that is it.
Yep.
Or
no
even
pushing,
when
no nothing.
Even when the person gets, like, stabbed a bunch of times, they cut that away. Stabbed in the same spot multiple times, like, it made no fucking sense.
Yeah, people would get stabbed, and then 2 minutes later they forgot that they got stabbed, and they're just like, hey, I got stabbed in the stomach, but cool, let's go talk on the staircase for 10 minutes. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, the stab wounds almost have no relevance to anything until the character has to fully die. Then they're like, oh, I'm dead. But it's almost like they forget that they've been stabbed until, you know, the movie requires them to die.
Yeah. There was only 2 of the actors that actually pulled off their roles perfectly until the end.
Who's that?
With one of them. One was the love interest for the young lady, the lesbian. No, the lesbian couple.
Oh, okay.
When she died, she was like stabbed, and she was groveling in pain, like she could barely walk, like she was just struggling. Like that to me was a good gore. It was good.
It was
and
more
realistic. Yes, realistic scene.
Okay, I agree. There's a few scenes that are more realistic compared to the stab in the face scenes. But I'd like to see none of these death scenes compared to like some of the older movies. They just don't have as much impact. You know, they feel, and also these characters are not likable at all. So when they die, you just don't give a shit, and they don't really give you any time to like get. You know, even the characters from surviving from the last one, I don't really like any of them. They all like make no sense to me. Well, to be honest, I have to say I do have one positive about this film.
Okay.
It does have a lot of good jump scares. A couple of times, right at the beginning, and a couple like at the end, I jumped. Especially when the second killer appeared, when that dude was fighting, and he just stabbed him in the back.
We saw that coming though. We even mentioned it in the movie. Yes, it is a little jump scare, but we both mentioned it in the movie. There is a second killer.
I know, but it just surprised me when he jumped out, and the dude when he was like looking at the doorway, you know, at the door, and he gets stabbed right through.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah, well, that scared me. I went, I was, yeah.
What's positive about that? We saw every kill scene
If
coming.
I jump, it's a successful jump scare. Simple as that.
So it's a scary movie. Is what
Oh
you're saying.
no, not scary. Scary to me is something like Conjuring. That is scary. That movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, that I will agree. Yes.
But this is just that they had a few of those moments, and I like that.
So surprise
moments. A couple of those. You know, the ending with the killer, when you discover who the killers are, ridiculously stupid. But they still had a good couple of jump scares.
Yeah, their whole backstory kind of sucked.
Oh my god, how fucking dumb was that? Like, oh my god, it might as well just be Scooby-Doo land. You know what I mean? Just take the mask off and oh my god, it's the detective. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah, it might actually be Scooby-Doo.
It might as well be. It's fucking the worst ending ever.
Anyways, let's cut it, paste it, put it in the ground. What would we rate this?
I would rate this a 3. Because honestly, it was really bad. They tried to use the franchise, like they tried to go back to all the movies to really make you go, this is something new and interesting, and it's not. The only thing interesting is that they talk about the past, because when they have their own movie in front of them, they realize it's garbage, and they have no interest. No, it's nothing interesting in the movie. So I'd say pass on this one, and maybe just reboot the fucking franchise instead of just, you know, sucking on the tit of the old one. It's just embarrassing.
I give it a 0.
Whoa!
0! It was a terrible movie. There were so many fucking plot holes.
Yeah.
Not only that, we mentioned on how people got stabbed and they were just walking it off like nothing happened. They even forgot. The actors even forgot that they got stabbed.
Yeah. And even the people that got stabbed 35 times and supposed to die, because of some test screening someplace, some guy, I don't want that guy to die. All of a sudden, they just appear back to life in a stretcher. Like everything's okay.
Yep.
It's just like, fuck off. Just fuck right off with this.
And fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you as well.
And the people who have actually like seen this just like one-off, like this is their first Scream movie, and then they're going to think the old ones were boring.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be just like a rip-off of the new one.
Or they'll think that this is a piece of shit, and I don't want to see the old franchise because it's just as boring as this piece of crap.
Yeah.
That's a good chance that might happen as well.
So, yes, anybody in the comments saying that, why did I give this a 0? There are all my points. I'm just going to flat out say, you can rip on me all you want, but I'm still giving it a 0. I hated it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either, to be honest. I was on it, like, during the movie, I was just like, I just want this to be over. Just tell me who the killer is so I can just kind of be done with.
No, it wasn't even enjoyable at all.
We should have went and saw John Wick.
Yeah.
I sensed you wanted to see John Wick, but I'm like, ooh, Scream when I was so young. I was like 16 when this movie came out, the first Scream. It was awesome. Like, I fucking loved it.
So now I'm going to ask you this. Do you want to change your review from a 3? Because you just ripped on it just like I did.
I give it a 2.
Oh.
A 2 now. 2, yeah. If you come out with another one, it'll be a 1. Don't make me make it a 1. It's dumb. Anyway, if you guys think this movie's great, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear why. But other than that, you know, if I see no comments, I'll just think you assumed you agreed with us, and that's fine with me too.
I'm fine with that, actually.
Yeah, perfectly fine with that. Yeah, so yeah, we win. Right.
We win?
Yeah, because there's probably no comments. Like we don't really get too many comments. Yeah, exactly. See you later. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and you know, hope you guys don't watch this movie, and you know, I don't know if you guys have noticed now, but I have a lot more content coming out every week. There's a video coming out, so hope you guys enjoying it. And Halloween is crazy. Like literally every 4 days there's a video coming out, so hope you guys are enjoying all that too. And yeah.
All right. We're going to try to get back on top of it, but a lot of things have happened over the year.
Hello everybody, it's D-Laps, and I'm here to review The Crow, City of Angels for PS1. Here we go. Wow, I can't believe they made a fucking game out of this movie. The movie I remember seeing back in '96 in theaters, and I thought it was pretty crappy. Now jumping into this game, the first cutscene is actually kind of decent, but there's something wrong with the sound. I couldn't hear any of the characters. And also, there's like a weird green mist going around all the characters. I think the cutscenes are also too dark. I can barely see anything that's happening. The character models kind of look like the actual characters from the movie, but a little different. The character models aren't so different that you wouldn't know which character they are from the movie. Like if you look at that guy, he looks like Iggy Pop. You look at that guy, he looks like Fun Boy. They all look like they should look like, but they just look crappy. So, this is the first time I actually played this game. I remember back in like 96, 95, some shit like that, in GamePro magazine, reading about this, and they boasted how this was an awesome 3D fighter. So I was excited, especially when I read the back and all the stuff it was saying it could do. But when you actually play the game, it fucking sucks. Like, look at this. I can barely hit the character ever. The hit detection in this game fucking sucks. You can't hit shit, and if you do, it's a miracle that you did. Well, what do all the buttons do? Well, you got a strong punch, you got a weak punch, you got a block button, you got a button that you push it, it's supposed to find a weapon, but usually just randomly walk around in a circle. It makes no sense. There's also a crouch button. I don't know why you need a crouch in this game, but they have a fucking crouch button. There's supposed to be some type of super move you can do in the game, but I can never figure out how to do it at all. Also, there are weapons scattered throughout the level. You start with like bats and knives and you move up to guns. But they all suck, except for the guns. If you can point it right, it actually works okay. The level design is really bad. And they give you these horrible camera angles. You can't see shit. All the environments look murky and blurry. I could barely focus on them at all. This is a terrible game. This is why movie license game gets such a bad rep. So it's time to rate this fucking train wreck. And I'm gonna have to say it's a 3 out of 10. This is a terrible game. And to be honest, man, this game is lucky that it got a 3. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Entertainment. Evil Within, from the creators of Resident Evil. And this game doesn't stray too far from it. You play a detective on the hunt for a serial killer. This game is a lot like Condemned. At least that's what it reminded me of. You follow the killer down a dark hole of insanity. But one thing I did notice, that the main protagonist didn't react like a normal person would. He was almost too calm. He didn't even raise an eyebrow when a man with half a head's walking towards him. I'd be shitting my pants the whole time. But that's just me. Now, the environments. They're very highly detailed and good size. Most of them are decrepit houses or barns. There's a morgue in there as well, but that's for leveling up. You click the thumbstick to pull up your inventory. So on a fly you can pull out any weapon you need. Dynamite, shotgun, whatever you have handy. Ammo is very scarce in the world.
but you do find green jars which let you level up. You can level up your health, your weapons, your abilities like running faster, longer stamina, things like this. And you will need these upgrades, because this game is hard, and I enjoy the fact that it's difficult. Even on medium, you'll find yourself dying a lot from random moments. You'll be like, hey, I'm gonna pull out a weapon, it'll look cool, and then you get spiked in the head. The game has lots of different animations for when you die. So when you get your head chopped off from that puzzle you failed, it's not such a piss off when you have to restart. This game has a lot of shock moments. I bet that scared ya. Evil Within, 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this game. Yeah, buy it, because it's awesome. So, there. Hi, I'm Dylan.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And we're here to review, on Netflix, it's called The Babysitter.
Yep.
Yeah, The Babysitter, yeah.
You guys suck.
Also, for all the fans of Kenny, he'll be doing a third review about The Babysitter. So please stay tuned for that review in the middle-ish of the video. Maybe at the end.
Hope he rates the same amount that I did.
I doubt it. He likes things and is happy with life.
I'm going to say straight out, I did not enjoy it.
The movie is epic, hilarious, and great. What he's talking about makes no sense.
Wait.
Please tell us why.
Wait, I thought we were going to agree on this, that it was a horrible movie.
I never said I agree on anything like that. I said the movie was excellent, and you said I agree. The movie is excellent.
What are you talking about? The movie was so horrible. There was the cliche with the black guy, the Home Alone reference, the cheerleader getting shot in the chest, and even the jock. Like, I mean, come on.
Why is he shirtless? That's your first question?
Well, you have the jock, which is honestly the character I think is one of the best, because he also wants to kill the kid, but help him become a better person. How many jocks do that? Want to murder and help? Exactly, that's not cliche.
Oh, so you mean the jock who is a killer who lets the kid go because he likes the thrill of the chase? He died in the most horrific way. He got lynched.
Well,
He
he's
fucking
a
hanged.
bad guy. He's supposed to die. Great character.
He's a horrible character.
And then you say the cliche black guy. I think the hilarious, awesome dude who's most realistic in the movie with what's going on. You know, especially when he's splattered in the eyeball. He's just like, "Eeeh!" That's what I would do.
Yeah, the black guy who died first. Cliche from any horror film. Not to mention, he was very not manually at all.
I don't think they're trying to be racist with that. I think it just happened. it just happened to be the first guy. You know, like they just happen to like pull straws and you get the short one. It happens.
Honestly, I'm not even counting the cops. It's because the original killers, or killers you want to call them, yes, the black guy died first.
And then you have the sexy, beautiful, actual babysitter who's in Ready or Not, great actress, and she did an awesome job being sexy and walking around and, you know, showing her butt and being hot.
Okay, Cole, don't cause any trouble.
I bet B has boys over at your place all the time.
She is hot. I will admit to this. She is sexy. Yes, I will admit to this. She seemed like she was force acting. Like, to me, she didn't want to be there. That's why she had the bitchy attitude.
She had to pretend to be a nice person, and then she's like, okay, I'm really kind of a bitch, and now I'm going to be, you know, murdering people because it's fun, and, you know, like, she can't be the same person, nice and mean at the same time. She's either one or the other, so at first she was super nice, and then she became super bitchy and rude, and that's real. That's real for you, man. That's reality.
It's some human sacrifice.
Yeah, but like, not in America with hot people.
Hey!
And then we got the cheerleader, which is not nearly as hot as the main actress. And she's there, supposed to be some hottie. I don't understand her character at all. I think she's just there for comedy relief, the way she gets shot.
Yeah.
Her character shouldn't exist in the first place. They had too many, main villain people, I guess. They should have cut back on one, and she's the one that should have just been absent from the film.
Point proven.
Okay, 1 plus towards your side, and 50 pluses towards mine.
Well, what's your 50 plus?
Everything I've said.
Anyways.
See the points? See right there?
Yeah, you're gonna manually put those points
That's
in.
not true. It's done, but the machine does it. I don't do it. Oh, look, I just got another one. Crazy.
You're a terrible individual. Okay, so let's talk about the kid then.
911. My babysitter is trying to kill me. Are the attackers in the house?
The kid is a little annoying. I didn't like his character. I thought his face looked weird. I thought his just whole mannerisms he was acting was just unusual. He kept running to people who couldn't, like children who couldn't help him in the first place. Don't run to an adult. Don't run to a police officer. No, run to your childhood friend who's like 10 years old. It was weird. I didn't think he was written very realistic.
Well, he couldn't run to an adult because every time he did, they died in some horror manner, or they were never around. Plot hole that needed to be filled. Thank you very much.
They live in a neighborhood. Just like any neighborhood, there's fucking 40 houses around. Instead of running to the next door neighbor or the next door neighbor, run 2 blocks away and talk to those assholes. Run 4 blocks away and talk to those dickheads. It's just stupid. It's like Halloween. She's out there screaming, help me, and there's no one there helping her. It's just not realistic.
Point proven.
What, every time something negative about this movie, you just say point proven? Like, how? I'm just telling you honesty. Okay, sure.
Point proven.
Okay, hopefully the point actually matters there. We'll see. Anyway,
Hi, Cole. Not weird, we're just having fun.
Now it's hard for me to even say anything negative about this movie. I'm just gonna lie now. It's the best fucking movie ever fucking made. It beats any Quentin Tarantino film. It's pretty much up there. It should be Oscar nominated for everything. And that little kid was awesome.
Your points just slowly go down. Okay, so now that we've got Dylan's opinion on the kid, I felt that he was just like a scrawny kid, like didn't want to make any friends. He only had one real friend. He was always looked down upon because he was slow in a way, but he was actually quite an intelligent young individual. And he was actually ahead of everybody else. Like, he had surviving skills. And he called the cops. He even knew the numbers of the codes for the cops because he wanted to become a cop. He wanted to be the person who saves lives. That's why he kept going to his girlfriend and didn't want her to get involved. That's why he put himself, like a selfless act.
Yeah, usually if you don't want someone involved, you don't go to their house.
True enough, yeah.
There's only one way to end this whole. Fuck you!
But also, let's talk a little bit about this girlfriend of his, little girl. She's like 10 to 13 years old, and they sexualize her pretty fucking hardcore.
That's true.
You know what I mean? She's like there as almost a sexual object for him. And the kiss, that came out of fucking nowhere. Honestly, like, I was just like...
The adrenaline pumping through him,
I guess,
the hormones.
The hormones, I don't know, man. That was a little fucking weird. I just don't think that would ever happen. If 2 little kids were scared, they wouldn't be looking at each other and starting to make out. I thought that was really weird, and I didn't like that portion of the film. I think it's just a little much. But, but for something on Netflix that you pay, I don't know, $13.99 a month for, I don't think you can do no wrong watching this film. I think you'll enjoy it at the end.
Didn't enjoy it.
That's because you're just greedy. You want too much.
Yeah, I just want the 1 hour and a half back of my life.
Oh, it's not going to happen. But now you have the joy of having the memories of these cool people. As we said before, Kenny's doing a 3rd review, and now we're going to disappear as Kenny appears.
I'm not doing that.
Well, I just saw The Babysitter, and I really like it. Like, this is actually a really, really good horror film. I thought it was excellent. One of the things that I liked about it the most was all the blood and gore. Like, this film does not skimp on the fucking blood and gore. It's freaking amazing. It's awesome. It's been a while since I've seen a horror film, and I mean a current one, do that. Kind of like the type of gore that you would see in, like, Jack Frost, or Evil Dead, maybe even Dead Alive. Yeah, it's that kind of gore. Freaking, one of the characters gets stabbed in the head and the freaking blood just gushes out like a freaking fountain. Oh man, you know, the film is brutal. Like, it's an in-your-face, real brutal horror film. I'm going to talk about John first, the villain, because one of the villains, the one that got stabbed through the neck, I'm going to talk about him first because, like, for real, he actually kind of stole the show while he was on camera. He was funny, he was wild, he was freaking crazy. He was like some metalhead hopped up on fucking meth or something, but, like, he was just all freaking excited and shit. Just, I love that character. I really wish they didn't kill him off. I think that he was better than the jock dude. Like, I thought he was way funnier and more enjoyable than that jock fellow. Anyway, the main characters, though, Cole and B. Well, we'll talk about Cole first. Cole is, like, you really feel for that kid, actually. Like, you actually really kind of feel for him because he's 12 years old and he's a hypochondriac, pretty much. He's afraid of everything. Everybody bullies him, everybody fucks with him. The only person that actually, you know, kind of gives a shit about him is B. And she's the main villain. And so it's just this game of, at the end of the movie, or actually towards the middle, it becomes a game of cat and mouse with Cole and B. And speaking of B, I thought she was hell really cool at first, you know. I mean, she did great as not only like a character that you could like, but also a character you could fucking fear, because she was pretty and she was also deadly. The interactions between B and Cole were actually one of the highlights, because on one end she acts kind of like a girlfriend to him, but also kind of as a sister, which, you know, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not, you know, weird like that. You end up liking her because of her enthusiasm, her general presence. She's kind of like Baby. She reminds me a lot of Baby from House of a Thousand Corpses, but less crazy, I guess. She's not only a cool babysitter, but she's also a cool killer. Right up there with other horror movie slasher villains like Freddy, Michael, Jason, Leatherface, and Jigsaw. You know, I don't see many B-horror movies coming out as you used to see in the 80s and 90s, and this is one. It's very far-fetched, and that's the thing that makes it work. Like, the plot in it is so far-fetched that and mind you, if video stores existed today, the film more than likely would have just went directly to video. But because Netflix, you get a lot more views and money, I can see why the writer and director did as he did when he put it on Netflix. Speaking of which, they're making a sequel. They're making a sequel to this.
A sequel? They're making a sequel? Oh, I gotta phone Mike to let him know this. Hello, Mike? They're making a sequel to The Babysitter. Isn't that awesome?
That sounds totally fucking gay.
You're happy that it's being made? Mike? Hello? He hung up. Why did he hang up?
And I am totally going to be there for that because, you know, spoiler warning, so skip ahead to this minute here. But B survives. B survives in the movie, so, you know, I think that this is going to become like a slasher thing, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, Halloween. You know, I think it's going to become something like that, and if it is, man, I can't wait to see more installments, you know, what else they do with this character. And I really hope that the actress who plays as her stays, because she did a very convincing and very good job. She is that character. Like, she brought that character to life. I'm going to give The Babysitter an 8.8 out of 10. Now, why am I giving it that decimal point? Well, it's because, you know what? I'm going to leave that a secret and just keep it to myself, you know, forever. Nobody can know. That decimal is theirs. You'll never know. But yeah, 8.8. It's a great film, great B horror film. They're gonna make a sequel. This is probably gonna be a series eventually. I love it. So that was my opinions on the film. I'm Kenny, and I'll see y'all later. It's Kenny.
Yeah, let's rate it.
All right, let's rate this movie.
Oh, you want me to actually start off with
Please do.
A 2.
Ungrateful, man.
I hated everything about it. Hated it. Want my hour and a half back. The only real reason why it got such a low rating was because of the plot premise. Like, you know, that guy's gonna die. That guy's gonna die. She's gonna die. She's already half dead. Her, she's some type of a satanic...
Sexy. Satanic. Hot.
Okay, so she's
Beautiful
a succubus then.
Beautiful
Ripped out of
lips.
the underworld and made to
Sexiest
do
eyes.
his bidding
Just
with that
beautiful
freaking
eyes.
book.
Oh man, her body's amazing. And she smile, her smile just makes you feel like your day is getting better. Her voice is just a picture of sunshine. What were you saying? Sorry? What were we talking about? I totally disagree with everything you said. The film had a few flaws, but it doesn't deserve the rating you gave it. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. Like, wasting an hour and a half of your life, that's not true one little bit. People are going to enjoy themselves. This is kind of a dark comedy. It's really funny. You know, a few moments in the film, yeah, it brings it down. But I don't think it deserves the rating you gave it. So 7.5 is still, you got another 3.5 there. You got yourself a 10. So, yeah.
You got yourself an 11. Can you count?
2.5, right? Okay. Okay.
Jesus,
Okay.
for fuck's sake.
Okay.
That was basic math.
Yeah, I
as
know.
well.
And fuck.
I just want to leave that in just to see your little hamster wheel turning.
All right, thank you everybody for watching. Cool videos and cool stuff coming. Leave a comment, share, like, and definitely, care about us.